He was a failed artist who became a dictator, a soldier who rose to power through words, not weapons, and a leader who led his nation into a war that would end in devastation. His name is synonymous with terror. His actions caused one of the darkest chapters in human history, and his ideology left scars that still linger today. But how did he rise to power? What fueled his beliefs? And what led to his ultimate downfall? This is the rise and fall of Adolf Hitler, the man who led Germany to destruction. Early life and influences. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889, in the small Austrian town of Braunau am Inn, near the German border. He was the fourth of 6 children, but many of his siblings died in infancy. His father, Alois Hitler, was a strict government official with a harsh temper. His mother, Clara, was caring but overprotective, and young Adolf was deeply attached to her. As a child, Hitler was fascinated with German nationalism. Even though he was born in Austria, he despised the multi-ethnic Austro-Hungarian Empire and admired Germany, believing in the idea of a unified Germanic people. This belief would later play a central role in his ideology. In school, Hitler was an average student at best. He struggled with discipline, often clashing with teachers and rebelling against authority. Despite his father's wishes for him to become a civil servant, Hitler dreamed of being an artist. At the age of 16, he dropped out of school, convinced that he would become a painter. But reality was harsh. In 1907, and again in 1908, Hitler applied to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. Both times, he was rejected. His dream was crushed. Left with no direction, he spent years drifting, living in poverty, staying in homeless shelters, and struggling to survive in the bustling city of Vienna. It was during this period that Hitler's worldview began to take shape. He read extensively about politics, history, and philosophy. He became obsessed with nationalist and anti-Semitic theories that were widely circulated in Austria at the time. He blamed Jews, Marxists, and liberals for Germany's struggles, ideas that would later become central to his political ideology. World War I, the making of a radical. In 1914, as World War I erupted, Hitler saw an opportunity for purpose. Despite being Austrian, he volunteered for the German army and was accepted. He served as a messenger on the Western Front, delivering orders under heavy fire. Hitler was wounded twice and received the Iron Cross for bravery, a rare achievement for a soldier of his rank. But while Hitler found camaraderie in war, he was devastated when Germany lost in 1918. The Treaty of Versailles, which ended the war, imposed heavy penalties on Germany. It stripped the country of territory, limited its military, and forced it to accept full responsibility for the war. Millions of Germans, including Hitler, saw this as a national humiliation. For Hitler, the defeat wasn't just military, it was personal. He believed that politicians and traitors, particularly Jews and communists, had stabbed Germany in the back by surrendering. This idea, known as the stab in the back myth, became the foundation of his future propaganda. The rise of a dictator. After the war, Germany was in chaos. The economy was collapsing, political violence was rampant, and people were desperate for leadership. In 1919, Hitler joined the German Workers' Party, a small nationalist group in Munich. Using his talent for public speaking, he quickly rose through the ranks. By 1920, he helped rename the party to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party. Hitler became the face of the movement, attracting thousands with fiery speeches that blamed Germany's woes on Jews, Marxists, and the Treaty of Versailles. He promised to restore Germany's power, unite all German-speaking people, and create a new dominant empire. In 1923, inspired by Mussolini's successful March on Rome, Hitler attempted his own coup, the Beer Hall Putsch. He and his supporters tried to seize control of Bavaria, but the attempt failed. He was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, he served only 9 months. During his time behind bars, Hitler dictated Mein Kampf, or My Struggle, outlining his extreme beliefs and his vision for Germany. He spoke of Aryan supremacy, the need for expansion, and the elimination of enemies of the state. Few took him seriously at the time, but the seeds of destruction had been planted. The road to power. By 1929, Germany was in crisis. The Great Depression had crippled the economy and millions were unemployed. The German people were desperate for change. The Nazi Party capitalized on this, using propaganda, mass rallies, and fear tactics to gain support. In 1932, Hitler ran for president against Paul von Hindenburg. He lost, but gained national recognition. A year later, under pressure from conservative elites, Hindenburg appointed Hitler as Chancellor of Germany on January 30th, 1933. It was a decision that would change history. Within months, Hitler began dismantling democracy. The Reichstag fire gave him an excuse to pass emergency laws, eliminating civil liberties. Political opponents were arrested. In 1934, after Hindenburg's death, Hitler declared himself Führer, absolute ruler of Germany. World War II and the Holocaust. Once in power, Hitler aggressively pursued his vision of expansion. In 1939, he invaded Poland, triggering World War II. Using the Blitzkrieg strategy, Lightning War, Germany conquered much of Europe in a matter of months. France fell in 1940. Britain stood alone. But Hitler's ambitions overreached. In 1941, he launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union. It was a grave mistake. The harsh Russian winter and fierce Soviet resistance led to devastating German losses. Meanwhile, the Holocaust was in full force. Hitler's racial policies led to the mass execution of 6 million Jews, along with millions of others, including Poles, Soviet prisoners, and political dissidents. It was genocide on an unprecedented scale. By 1944, Germany was losing. D-Day saw the Allied invasion of France. The Soviet Red Army was advancing from the east. Hitler's empire was crumbling. The final days and Hitler's death. By April 1945, the Allies had encircled Berlin. Hitler retreated to his underground bunker. He was a shadow of his former self, paranoid, delusional, and in poor health. As Soviet troops entered the city, Hitler realized the war was lost. On April 30th, 1945, he took his own life. Days later, Germany surrendered. World War II was over, but the devastation Hitler left behind was unimaginable. Hitler's rise was built on propaganda, manipulation, and fear. His downfall was the result of overconfidence, strategic blunders, and the resilience of those who stood against him. Today, his name is synonymous with tyranny, and his legacy serves as a warning of what happens when hatred goes unchecked.